Welcome to the Membership Site Success Show. It's your host, Micah Mitchell, and today we get the treat of interviewing Dave D. Now, Dave's generously agreed to let us ask him a bunch of questions about how he thinks, and specifically about sales, because it's Dave D of daved.com, and on the site there's a claim, and I know Dave a little bit. I've seen him speak. I've read a lot of his stuff, and the claim is that he's going to teach you how to sell more of your products or services in a day than you do right now in a whole year. Dave, some of you may know him, but if you don't, he's a very, very talented marketer, and I'd say especially talented at making the sale. So Dave, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. There's one thing that I've got to change on that site, though, and into the introduction that you just made me. It's actually sell more in 75 minutes than you now do all year. No, before we came, no, I just got a testimonial from one of my students who, got my system and everything like that, and he just sold $330,000 in 1 hour from one presentation. So we're gonna have to change that to 75 minutes because a day is too long to make more than you do an entire year.
That's amazing. That's so cool. And so I am a member on your site, and I've gone through a bunch of your content, and I realized going through it just that I really need to slow down, because I was just kind of, skimming it and thinking, oh, this is good and that's good and that's good. And then I realized, holy crap, we suck at selling. We're not doing most of this. Like there's one thing to go through it and appreciate it intellectually and like, oh, that's a great idea. And then think about, well, what are we doing now? And man, I really, really, really got to up my game. So I appreciate your site, by the way. And I want to talk about the site in just a minute. But first of all, I want to just give everybody a little bit of background about you. So can you tell us a little bit about you and your company and a little bit of your history leading up to today?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me on your show. I love what you guys are doing, as you know, and you're providing such a great service for people, and it's just fantastic. I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic. So yeah, we'll start back when I was 8 years old, and we'll go year by year. No, but seriously, it did start when I was 8 years old. I had my grandmother gave me a little magic set. Like most boys around that age. And I fell in love with the art of magic. And I knew that since I was 8 years old, that's what I wanted to be, that I wanted to be a professional magician. It was not like, a passing thing. Now, my parents thought it was kind of funny and kind of cute when I was 8, 9, and 10. But when I got to be 18, 19, they really didn't think it was that cute anymore. And so, they told me to take the traditional route, right? Go to college, get a job, work for a company, all of that kind of stuff. And I have the greatest parents on the planet, but they weren't entrepreneurs, right? So they didn't know that world. And so I constantly heard things like, that's not practical. You're not going to make any money. You're going to be broke. And so for a long time, I believed that. And it wasn't until my mid-20s when I got fired at a job that I was working at. In fact, it was one of the last jobs that I had, that I decided to really go for it, to really go for my dream of becoming a professional magician. And the problem was I was only doing about 3 shows a month. And these weren't big, gigantic David Copperfield-like productions. These were, little shows. And so nowhere near to make enough money. And come to find out, my wife was pregnant with our first child, Gina. And I was doing 3 shows a month. I had no job. And it was really stressful. So I had to make a decision. I was going to either make this thing work, or I was going to get a real job again. And that would probably be it, because I probably would never go on to fulfill my dream. And so I went to a seminar, and I saw this guy who I never heard of before, a guy by the name of Dan Kennedy, and he was talking about marketing. And, I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about selling. I believed that if I got really good at what I did, that I'd be successful, because that's what we're all taught, regardless of the profession that we're in. We're taught, get really good at what you do and you'll be successful. Well, unfortunately, that's not the truth. And Dan said something really important. He said, it's more important to be a master marketer than it is to be a master at what you do. Now, excuse me, that doesn't mean that you aren't good at what you do, but the focus needs to be on the marketing and sales. And so that's where I put my focus, and I took massive action. I learned everything I could about marketing, and I started implementing, and most of it was really bad. I mean, I was sending out terrible sales letters and placing, very mediocre lead generation advertisements, and doing all of that stuff, but I did a lot of it, and some of it worked. And I went from doing 3 shows a month to averaging 25 shows a month in less than 90 days. And in my 4th month, I did 57 shows in 1 month. And my life completely changed. I paid off, believe it was like $80,000 in debt. I bought a new house. I bought a new car. My wife quit her job and became a stay-at-home mom. And it was just a dramatic turnaround because I learned marketing and sales. And because of that, other business owners started asking me, well, how did you do it? Because smart business owners realized that marketing is marketing is marketing. It doesn't matter what I was marketing or what I was selling. It's basically the same, right? I had to generate leads just like any other business. I had to convert those leads into sales. I had to deliver a product or service. I had to get referrals and repeat. But it's the same, right? It was just a different service. And so that led me into helping other business owners with their marketing and their sales. And quickly that surpassed my income. I was making a good 6-figure income as an entertainer, but I really enjoyed helping other business owners. And the story really came full circle when Dan Kennedy sold what is now known as GKIC. He actually sold it to Bill Glazer, a guy by the name of Bill Glazer, and Bill sold it to a private equity company. And Dan basically said to the private equity company, you guys better get somebody in here who knows what they're doing. And the guy I recommend is Dave D. And so they made me, they courted me, and I really didn't want to go to work for anybody. But they made me a really good offer. You could work out of your house of Atlanta,